Thank you for joining us for this year's video series from the International Symposium on Human Identification. Today we are very honored to have Sylvain Bucha with us. Sylvain, I would love if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your background before we begin.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Sylvain Bucha. I'm military, so I'm colonel of French Gendarmerie. I joined the forensic DNA lab of the French Gendarmerie since 18 years now, and I began at the position of DNA analyst, and I progressed to deputy head of department for reference samples, and after head for the department of keyword samples, and now I'm the head of the full genetic division for the French Gendarmerie. And concerning my background of university, I got a PhD after my study.
That is amazing. What a career progression. And I mean, in 18 years, did you say? That's amazing. It's incredible.
I don't know if it's incredible, but
it sounds like it.
Yeah.
What got you interested in the field of forensics? How did it start?
In fact, I need to be to develop very concrete things, and in my opinion, forensic it's really concrete, and you have a lot of application for the field, and that's why I'm interested about this field particularly. So I don't like to learn some things and do not apply that you learn.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's an excellent answer. I always like asking that question because you get a different answer no matter who it is. So you are presenting at ISHI this year, and your presentation obviously is talking about something that has the world's attention and has been very difficult for a lot of people to watch. Why don't I let you talk about it, because I think that would be better. Tell us what you've been doing, the partnership you had with the Ukraine to assist with the identification of the bodies.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to demonstrate that we make all the efforts that we can to help Ukrainian people, and for my position, the best way it was to realize DNA identification, because is my job, in fact. So, and we have now a lot of experience on DVI contexts with my forensic lab. So it was, I think, the best way to help people, Ukrainian people, to do that.
And you implemented a mobile lab, so you actually went on the ground and were doing identifications. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so we developed a mobile DNA lab solution in 2015, so since seven years now. The goal of this mobile lab is really to obtain DNA result and DNA analyze as quick as possible, depending the context, and it's very appreciated in DVI context, for example. So the first time that we used this mobile lab, it was for the air crash of German wings, with I remember 150 people died, and with this mobile lab solution, we realized a lot of DNA analyzed, but directly on the field, and we solved all the identification in only 6 weeks. So it was very, very rapid. The second important time, it was after the terrorist attack in Nice in 2016 now, with, I remember, around 90 victims. And by the same way, with the mobile DNA lab, we identified all the victims in only 2 days. So it was very helpful for that. And for Ukrainians, so it was very adapted, because in the condition on field are very difficult. You are in a war context, and it's not the same. It's not the only one problem for Ukrainian people. There are other problems. Of course, there are problems to identify the victim, but there is other problem during the war, and so France can help to Ukrainian people to identify the victim, and that's why we sent to the mobile lab to Ukraine.
That partnership is remarkable. I really was moved reading about it. How do you do that? You did, like you said, you had to adapt it to bring it into that kind of environment where there's an active war going on. And as I understand it, you were in Bucha outside of Kiev, so you were very close to, everything that had just happened. What kind of experts do you use? How do you get that mobile lab? How do you safely do what you need to do?
And we sent a task force of 16 forensic experts, so in DNA, in legal medicine, in ballistic explosives, also, and fingerprints. Concerning the mobile lab, so we go to Kiev by road from Paris, so 2 days, with 3 tons of material, 12 cars and trucks, so very big traffic so on the road. And it was the most easy to reach Kiev because there is no flight in Ukraine now, civilian flight or military flight in Ukraine now. So there is unique way to reach Kiev. It's on the road, so it takes 2 days to reach Kiev from Paris. But after on site, we realized. Bodies examination and DNA analyzed directly on field, very near to Bucha, in fact.
Okay. Wow. 2 days on the road. Did you encounter anything? I mean, I'm sure you tactically planned a way to get there, but it just seems like there are so many things to think about. I mean, it's like an overwhelming, you're talking 12 vehicles and so many supplies and.
Yeah, in fact, it's in our DNA because we are military. So this kind of organization, it's in the DNA of each of my guys and myself also. So organize a travel like that, it's very easy. In fact, we are trained for that. We are trained during the military school, but we are trained also. Every year we made some exercise for that, so it's not an issue, even if you are in a war context. And after directly in Ukraine, the security was done by the Ukrainian police directly.
I just find it incredible reading about it, but hearing it from you really brings it to life, and I'm so we're honored that you're here to share about it. This is a harder question because it's more subjective, so don't feel obligated to answer, but how do you deal with that when you're in the field and you're on the ground and you're seeing what's happening and you have a job to do, but obviously we're all human? Well, it must be very difficult.
Not really, in fact, because we are mainly the mission in the head, in fact. And so we are often faced to disaster, faced to death, faced to bad things in the life. So, of course, it's a very high level of bad things in life because we are in a war context. But victims from a crash are not really different than victims from the war. And that's why when you are in the mission, so you think about the mission and you think about the benefit of your action also. And we work not for the victim because the victim is dead, but we work for the family of the victims, and it's very important. It's a very high motivations.
That's a beautiful way to look at it, because that is the end goal, to help provide some resolution for the families and do something to help. Rapid DNA, so we've been talking about that a lot in some of these interviews. Even though some commercial products have been around since 2011, not everybody, there's some hesitation to implement it in some cases. And you've obviously used it multiple times with success. What do you think are some of the keys to that might help other people, some advice you might give?
In fact, when we talk about rapid DNA, when I talk about rapid DNA, it's not a rapid DNA system because it's not all-in-one instrument. I'm talking about rapid DNA because the process is rapid, but we are using regular instrument. Then it's the same instrument that we use in routine in the lab, but we have just made some change for ship this instrument and transport this instrument directly on the field. So basically, we use the same protocols that we use in routine, but with some difference to obtain a result in less than 3 hours. But it's not rapid DNA machine.
Okay, that's fascinating. So, right, just tweaking what you were using and then finding a way to make it mobile and use that in the field. That's amazing. You brought some props. Did you want to tell us a little bit about what you have here?
Yeah, so for example, we developed specific protocol to collect DNA on the cadavers, on the remains, and we developed this protocol to quickly obtain DNA results. And we made some innovations. So one example of the innovation is, for example, this microfog swab. So microfog swab is a French patent, but this product is made by Cope & Company. And basically, when you compare regular swab and microfog swab, so it's very different. So it's not for that, okay? It's for DNA collection. But the difference between this swab to this swab is this swab you need DNA extraction, you need regular process to obtain a result, and it takes 5-6 hours. Comparing to this swab, but that there is different reagent catched on the fibers on the swab, and you realize direct extraction when you collect DNA, and you can process directly to PCR amplification after collection. So by this way, you save time, and there is very sensitive tool. So and is very adapted for blood or for bone marrow, for samples that you can find for DVI, and by this way you can obtain a DNA result in less than 3 hours. So we use in routine this swab for DVI context or different situation in routine in the lab.
That is fascinating. And so you're talking about a patent. You hold a number of patents, I believe.
Yes, 5 patents.
Wow.
This is the first one. The second one is a mobile lab. The third is another patent that innovation that I developed with one of my colleagues in my job. So we have two different patents with my colleagues, and I have the last patent is about DNA preservation. So I imagine a system to preserve at room temperature millions of samples in a very reduced volume. And the innovations that we made with my colleague is to improve DNA extraction yield, and also to improve the traceability when you consider that first step of the process is to take your sample and put the sample inside the tube. So it will improve these steps and to facilitate the handling of the samples and preserve the risk of contaminations.
So in your presentation, you're going to talk about the samples that were processed and what happened with that. Maybe you can give us a little preview of what that looks like.
Yeah, it's like a spoiler.
Yes.
Yeah, we collect, I don't remember exactly because it's in my slide, but around 180 post-mortem samples. And we got 98% of positive result, and only we obtained a negative result from only 4 samples, but it was very little fragment of bones and calcined bones, so it was not adapted to DNA analyze. And for reference samples, we analyzed around 70 reference samples from relatives of the victims, so directly on the field from FTA cards. And so we did direct comparison between AM data and PM data in order to identify the victim, because there is no a national database in Ukraine or not available at this time, and that's why we did direct comparison.
That's amazing. Of 180 samples in it. I believe you were there 5 weeks. That is quite a bit to do.
Yeah, but it's not a very high volume, in fact, because with the mobile lab we can process around 200 samples per day. But we have to consider that you are in a war context and that you can't work like you want in this context. You are not in your home, also in your country, so you have to adapt the situation to the Ukrainian authorities. You have to adapt the collaboration. You have to adapt your protocol too, and also you have to adapt to the missile alert. And that's why a real deal to combine the work on the lab or the work on the field to collect DNA or to identify bodies, and the context with missile alert, because when there is a missile alert, you stop your work. So you go to the basement of your building and you wait the end of the alert after the end, so you go back to work. So it's difficult. It's not a regular workflow, in fact. That's why we just process 180 samples in five weeks.
That still does seem like quite a lot, given what you just said and how much you were going through. Did the missiles, was that happening very often? Were you in the basement quite a bit?
Yes, depending days, but yes, some days it's 3, 4, 5 times per day, not only during the day but also during the night, of course. And so depending the day, depending the moment, but you are not fully confident, in fact, because you don't know when there is a missile alert, so you don't know where the missile will go. So perhaps in my head, perhaps, and I remember not for my mission, but because there is not only my mission in Ukraine, but there is also other mission from my colleagues from the same lab, and from my colleagues, a missile was touched the ground just 1 kilometer from the building that there was. So it was not.
Ooh, were they okay?
Yeah. Okay, everybody is okay, but you understand that in this context it's difficult to focus only on your sample.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you say it's our mission, but it's very brave. I mean, I think anybody looking from the outside would say that is something that is very difficult to do, and I can only imagine how much the families and Ukrainians appreciate the effort to assist. What happened after you processed the samples? How did you share the information then?
Yeah, it was the legal framework. It was a bilateral cooperation between Ukraine and France, and we was just in Ukraine to help Ukrainian authorities. So all the data, all the results are in the possession of the Ukrainian authorities. We don't have anything to this result. Just give the results to the Ukraine.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That was really wonderful. Do you have any plans to go back, or what are the next plans for the mobile lab, or are you moving on to other projects, if you can share? I know it's military, so maybe not.
Yeah, this is not a secret. We deliver to the Ukrainian authorities. We deliver a mobile lab. So we build a mobile lab following the French model, and I went to Kiev in last July to train Ukrainian people and for using this mobile lab, and train Ukrainian people to use microflog, to use our process in order to identify bodies. We plan to go back at the beginning of the next years, because we plan to deliver another one mobile lab to the Ukrainian authorities. So I think it's not the last mission.
That's a wonderful program, though, to first go and then now provide one and a second mobile lab and allow them to continue to identify bodies in that very rapid way when things are are still so terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible, but like I said, we know why we do that, and it's extremely important because it's really for us and for my team and for each guy that are going to Kiev or to Ukraine to help Ukrainian people. It's really in the head of each. This mission is really in the head of each. So that's why it's not really a problem to go. In fact, everybody is volunteer to go. So for the family, it's difficult, of course, because there is a risk because the country is in war. But everybody is volunteer. Everybody wants help, and it's very, very appreciated for Ukrainian people. Yeah.
Well, it's certainly an honor for you to be here and sharing it with everybody here. I know people are looking forward to your presentation. I've heard it so many times during the opening reception and just walking around and other presenters who we've talked to. So yes, I'm very much looking forward to it as well. So I see two more prompts. What do we have? What do we have here? I'm curious.
Yeah, so it's make parts of one of the innovations. So basically, we use this type of system to process swabs, and we develop another one with higher traceability, with some specification to obtain more quantity of DNA after DNA extraction. So basically, you continue to use this device, but we replace this device by this one. And when you use it, you can see there is a cap on each well. So it's made for prevent DNA contamination between each samples. And this cap could be removed by an instrument. So we developed an instrument to process this cap, and it's make part of other innovation also. So this is just an illustration of what we use today and what we will use tomorrow after building a mold for product in the large quantity.
Okay, that's amazing. Was that something that was developed based on your experience in the field and other mobile labs, or before you actually went out with the mobile lab?
No, I think it's a unique system.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us. Given that this is an audience of forensic scientists, is there anything else we haven't talked about yet that you think is important for them to know or you want to share?
About what?
Just about your project in general. Certainly you'll be giving a detailed presentation, but anything, this will hit a larger audience. It'll be on our website.
In general?
Yes, yeah.
In general, in my lab?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the rule of the lab is to propose the best solution for the guy in the field. And so I keep always in my mind to develop some process to be more simple, more easy to collect, more easy to analyze, and more faster to give the result, and also improve the sensitivity to propose the best way to obtain DNA profile from samples. So it's the line that we want to use for develop some new innovation.
That sounds amazing. That's wonderful. Have you ever been to ISHI before?
Yes, I'm trying to attend to ISHI each year, but with COVID it was difficult. But I'm trying to attend to ISHI each year because I think, and I don't say that only for you, but I think it's the most interesting symposium in forensic in the world. So I attend only to this symposium, in fact, and we can share, we can meet some very interesting people, we can share some ideas, we can develop some products, some partnerships. So I think it's very important, and that's why I'm here.
That's very kind to say. We appreciate that. I've really enjoyed meeting all the forensic experts from around the world who come and come back every year, and I learn so much as well, even though I'm no forensic expert. Anything we missed? Anything else you'd like to share?
No, I have just a present for you.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
This is a first. This
is the first.
Yes, this is amazing.
Where is? Yes, it's a tradition when you are military. I don't know. I don't think you are not military, but it's a tradition. You keep.
What? Really?
You're a member of my team now.
I am so honored. This is a first, and this is possibly the best first there could ever be. This is amazing. Okay.
And this one came from Ukraine.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Really?
It was in my
Oh.
suite.
Oh,
In Ukraine.
thank you so much. This is amazing. I will treasure this. You did surprise me entirely. I had no idea. Thank you. That's very wonderful. We are so happy to have you here. Thank you for doing the interview with us. I will treasure this.